Welcome, everyone. Congratulations on making it through one more OMA conference. I hope you had an awesome time while you were here visiting in Windsor. And I hope you come back when our museum actually has complete exhibitions in place, because it's going to be quite spectacular then. Moderately spectacular now, but so much better in another month. So thank you once again for coming to Windsor, and I would like to introduce to you our last speaker of the day, and Nick Gray. He is the founder and CEO of Museum Hack. It is a company of educators and actors who give renegade tours at the best museums in the world. And as some of you know, he was at my museum on Wednesday night, so we obviously are one of the best in the world. Gray doesn't come from an arts background, and he claims to hate most museums. However, it is a very special visit to the Metropolitan Museum of Art that unleashed a curiosity about history and art, and he began giving free tours for his friends every weekend. Museum Hack is the business that was created out of this passion for non-traditional and high-energy museum tours. Museum Hack wants to appeal to the cynics, the bored, and the apathetic. They know that a lot of people don't enjoy museums, especially the millennials. And so guides at Museum Hack give tours that are totally different from most experiences, including engaging stories, authentic performances, sassy gossip, games with prizes, wine shots, and lots of photos. The tours are very popular with New York City residents and with the tourists alike. Companies in New York City regularly hire Museum Hack to produce their company team building offsites and employee training. Gray's mission and that of Museum Hack is to get people excited about the best museums all over the world. So please join me in welcoming Nick to the stage.
If you've ever spoken at a conference before, you know that the worst time to talk is the last slot on the last day. So I'll try to be fast and fun. And thank you very much for having me. It's my first time in Windsor, and it is an honor to be here. I heard some really cool ideas and some great presentations by people like yourselves who have committed their careers to working with museums. And it's a little bit intimidating for someone like me who doesn't come from a background of museums to be invited and lauded on stage to talk about what we're doing. So I try to speak from that here very humbly, because I have so much respect for the work that you all are doing. It was actually hard to get me to come and speak here. I said I would only come and talk if they had the conference in a casino. Thankfully, we worked that out. This is my favorite work of art in the entire world. I think I've seen it hundreds of times. I've talked about it just as many times. And there's a crazy mystery around this piece. We don't know a lot about it. I'm going to tell you about that piece in a little bit, but first I want to clear the slide. It's going to be black up there. Just like I was introduced, it's true, I don't like museums. I don't come from an art history background. I was a business major in college. I grew up lower middle class family in Dallas, Texas, and we never really went to museums. So when I go there, I don't exactly know what I'm supposed to look at or think about. The works of art usually have nothing to do with me. It's so quiet inside, and more often than not when I'm there, my feet hurt. It's like, get me out of here. That's how I felt until 4 years ago, when I had this amazing, magical experience. A woman brought me to the Metropolitan Museum of Art on a romantic date. This is the Metropolitan Museum of Art. You all have probably heard about it. A lot of you have probably been there. This is the most popular museum in all of New York City. It's actually the most popular museum in the entire world, in North America. Gets over 6 million visitors a year. The Louvre gets more. It's ginormous in scale and in scope, over 2 million square feet, 2 million objects in the collection. It's like 48 football fields. But it's so big that it's intimidating. I mean, this place, to me and my friends who live in New York City, this place was just a tourist attraction. Like, this was the type of place that you would go when your parents were visiting, and you would go hang out there. We didn't have a relationship, or we wouldn't go there very frequently. So when this woman invited me there on a date, I said, okay, let's go. I'm open to it. And we went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art on a Saturday night. Like the Royal Ontario Museum, which is open late on some nights, the Met is open late on Friday and Saturday nights. It looked something like this. We went in the middle of December, so it was actually snowy out the night that we went. And not many people were there, so we almost had the whole place to ourselves. And this woman began to give me a tour of some of her favorite things that she was excited and she was passionate about. It wasn't a highlights tour, it was stuff that she loved. Paintings and sculpture and Egyptian artifacts and even furniture. And something sort of unlocked, something special happened. I'm not sure if it was the very romantic mood lighting in the museum, or the snow coming down in Central Park, or maybe it was just having a very attractive woman talk to me. But that night, I fell in love with the museum. Not with the girl. I don't even remember her name. The tour that she gave unlocked a sense of curiosity about history and art that I never knew that I had. And I started to feel like maybe I moved to a big city for spaces like this. So I started going to the museum every weekend for fun. And I would do everything I could to just find out more and explore. I would do the audio guides. I would take the docent tours. I'd look things up on Wikipedia. I watched all these videos I could find. At the time, I sold electronic equipment that was used in small planes. You know that map that shows you where your plane is flying across the world? That's what my company made. And I loved my job. I was very good at it, but on the weekends, this was my escape. And I loved the museum so much that after a couple months of just going there by myself, I wanted my friends to come too. So I started to give them just free tours of cool things that I had found. These are some photos of me doing those free tours for my friends. This was from my birthday weekend. It's like none of my friends would actually come up there all the time, so I said, haha, I'll trick you, I'll have my birthday there. And then you have to come. And a funny thing was the Met's group services office was like, no, you definitely can't have your birthday party here, because if it's a group of, like 10 or more, then you have to register and it's an official function. So I said, no problem, there'll be 4 groups of 9. My tours that I did for my friends were not very sophisticated. I was a business major. These were not like high-level tours with like a woven narrated story. They were basically like 10 cool things I found and 3 things I want to steal. I would take my friends to an object like this. This is called a Goa stone case, and it was made in the early 1700s on the west coast of India, meant to house a Goa stone. It's about the size of a pool ball, and they believed at the time that these Goa stones had magical, mystical properties. They thought that you could take a Goa stone and you could shave off a piece of it, and you could put it into a cup of tea, and it would cure any type of poison. They thought that you could take a Goa stone and you could drop it into a well, and it would cure the plague for 100 miles around. These Goa stones were magnificent, magnificent things. They would have been worth way more than their weight in gold. So they created these amazing housings for them. On the tours with my friends, we would rush up to the glass cases and press our faces right up to it. I would have my friends look at the craftsmanship and the detail, and I would ask them, I would say, imagine, what would you put inside of this case if you stole it? Their answer, by the way, was usually chocolate or drugs. Using inquiry there for the educators. So those were what my tours kind of became, a fun, spirited romp through the museum. And my friends told their friends, and their friends told their friends. It became the thing to do on Friday and Saturday nights in New York City. These groups would come and they would post their photos on social media like this, of them having fun on these tours. I was doing it every single weekend, and then a blog wrote about these tours, and literally the next day, 1,000 people emailed me wanting to join to go on these tours. So I started to recruit my friends as tour guides. It was becoming a very, very full-time hobby. And so I'm happy to say that about 2.5 years ago, I quit my job. And since then, I've been working every single day on this company called Museum Hack to try to reimagine the adult museum experience. And what I hope that you can learn from what I'm going to share with you here is not how to do tours at the largest museum in North America. I recognize a lot of you work at smaller museums. So I hope that maybe the ideas that we have can help you to interact with your communities. Because we've been lucky to travel all around the world to work with museums to attract new people. And that's what we're obsessed with. That's what Museum Hack lives for, is attracting a whole new type of audience to these museums that never would be going there any other way. I spoke at Kitchener-Waterloo, and some of you were there. I've heard some great new things that you've been doing at your local museums, like doing the Sunday tours for docents where they have to only talk about things that they're passionate about. We're going to talk about that. We've grown, though, and as a business, I'm proud. I just want to brag a little bit. We now have 24 employees. We are entirely bootstrapped. We haven't taken any venture capital. We don't have any grants. I'll talk a little bit more about the details of our business, but this year we're going to do $1 million in sales. That's cool. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you very much. About $175,000 of that goes directly to our museums when we pay the full adult fare for the admission. I'll talk a little bit more about the details of our business, and I'm happy to share in the Q&A afterwards if anybody wants to stay late. But the things I'm going to say now is the 3 things that we do different than most museum tours and why this matters. First, the 3 things that we do different than most museum tours simply boils down to guides, games, and gossip. I'll start with guides because our tour guides are the heart and soul of Museum Hack. They're the reason why our customers are obsessed with us and write amazing reviews and tell all their friends. We don't hire the typical tour guides. We don't hire based on art history knowledge because we actually think that storytelling comes first. We hire for that first and foremost. We don't have job interviews, we have job auditions. We actually solicit resumes, and we'll weed out about a half of them who we know are not a good fit. And then we'll invite the other half to meet us at the museum for group interviews. This is a group audition to do kind of a surprise to them. We say, look, use your smartphone. You have 10 minutes to explore the galleries, and we want you to come up with a piece. I want you to talk about something for a minute. Share your excitement with us. And so we hire for storytelling, first and foremost, and we attract a diverse crew of tour guides. We hire actors and educators and scientists and musicians. We hire people like this woman. Her name is Leah. She is an actor, and she loves this piece. We hire people like this guy. His name is Ethan. He's an educator. He loves this piece. What's special is that the guides don't have a set route. Like, we don't tell them you have to see these objects or you have to have a specific theme. We say you have to pick pieces and design your own route based on things that you're excited and you're passionate about. Because the visitors can feel that. They can feel that excitement when you love talking about something. And so the guides oftentimes pick a lot of pieces, and so they have a lot to talk about. And so our tours move very, very fast. The average museum hack tour moves 2 to 3 times as fast as most museum tours. We see 15, sometimes 20 objects on 1 2-hour tour. And so we have to play games to keep people engaged. In fact, we start all of our tours with like a cheer from the sports world. We have everybody come into a circle and huddle up and put their hands in the middle. And the guide will say, look, there are so many things that I have to show you here that I'm excited about, but we have to stick together. We have to work as a team. And so we're going to do a little cheer, and we're going to say the word museum, like museum. And that's what they do. They put all their hands in the middle, and all the guests go, museum. And then they race inside the space. That's how all of our tours begin. Because we're not providing a typical museum tour, we're selling a museum adventure. See, these are people who never would have come to the museum in the first place because they think they don't like museums or they're not interested in the existing offerings. We play these games to keep people tuned in and engaged because we know that this is an ADD generation who's on their phones every 2 to 3 minutes. If you've ever been at a new space before and you look at the art, and after 20 or 30 minutes, as much good intentions as you have to be an intelligent gallery visitor, you notice that you start to yawn maybe. That happens to the best of us. It's called gallery fatigue. I'm sure you know about it. We make fatigue-fighting exercises on our tours to keep people tuned in and awake. We'll do yoga in the modern and contemporary wing. We'll do squats in the stairwells with people. We'll pass out candy in the lifts. We'll pound espresso shots, whatever we need to do to keep them tuned in and engaged. That's really important for us. We think that today's audiences have to be entertained before they can be educated. Photographs in the museum are a little controversial, selfies and how to do that. But we love selfies in the museum. And all of our tour guides know not just where like the art looks good, but where the visitors look really good. And so we know the places where our visitors are very well lit with a beautiful background. And then we'd love for them to take pictures. And people love to share these pictures because, let's be honest, you look awesome in a museum. Sharing these photos is so helpful for the marketing of what we do because, in essence, our visitors become our own sales force. They're taking pictures of them having fun, and their friends ask, what is this? And they want to know more. My favorite part about the tours, though, is the last part, this gossip. And when we say gossip, what we mean are the juicy backstories about the artifacts and about the museum. We have all types of visitors who come on museum hack experiences, but one of my favorite target demographics is a group that we lovingly refer to as finance bros. The guy on the left there, that's him being excited, by the way. These are people who are first in their category of intelligence, first in their category of income and earnings, but usually the last place they want to be is at the museum. They're dragged there on a corporate event or on a date. And so when they come into the tour, the first thing that we do is we identify them. And we say, welcome to the museum. And then the guides have liberty to customize the tour. So they say, today we're going to start the tour a little bit differently. We're going to start the tour at the most expensive piece of art that the museum has ever paid cash money for. And so they take them up the stairs into a tiny little room on the second floor with this tiny work of art painted by the artist Duccio. It was made in the year 1300, and Duccio is a pre-Renaissance master. Before him, art was largely Byzantine. No interactions, it was 2D, like a comic book. We have our visitor look at the color of the shawl on Mary and the little banister in front. So we have him look at the veil and how baby Jesus is pushing the veil aside and how Mary is looking down with that sorrowful glance at baby Jesus with his peanut-shaped head. Duccio knew how to paint babies, but he's giving Christ that man-child significance for the life that he's about to live. It's like if you ever see like a baby Jesus with a six-pack. In the year 2004, the Metropolitan Museum of Art acquired this work. There were only 12 other Duccios in the whole world. This was the last one that was not owned by a museum. And the time that they had to acquire it before the Louvre or the Getty, they basically had 48 hours to raise all of this money. It's about the size of an iPad. And they paid $45 million for it. That's like $1 million per square inch. When we talk about works of art like this, we know that we've been successful with these visitors when they say, "That was interesting. What else do you have here that's expensive?" We're not afraid to talk about money and how much things cost in a museum because that's what our visitors want to know. That's what they ask us about, and that's the point of engagement to get them interested. See, Museum Hack thinks that our job is to attract this new type of audience to the museum, to show them that they can have fun in the space and they can want to learn about these objects. They're not even coming in the first place. Once we make that binary switch for them, your museum probably has amazing things for them to discover. But they're not even coming in the first place. See, we do these aggressive marketing tactics and we talk about controversial stuff because we're obsessed with this new type of audience. I mean, our phrase is a controversial phrase in itself. Our whole marketing slogan is that museums are fucking awesome. Using that word, which is like a very harsh word, helps snap these visitors out of the typical mindset to say, whoa, this is not what I expected from museums. This is something totally different. we try to do those totally different things. We did this one photo shoot that we shared on Facebook, which was the top 10 places to make out at the museum. Got a lot of shares on Facebook. One of our most highly shared graphics was from a private tour that we did. This is the actual photo from a wedding proposal. This is a real photo from a real tour that we did. We've done 9 wedding proposals now. They've all said yes. And the guys who call us up for these wedding proposal tours have the craziest requests. They're just they're trying to plan these amazing events. And this guy called me a few months ago and he said, I want to do a private tour for my girlfriend where I proposed to her. I said, okay, great. He said, I want to do it in the American wing because that's where we met. I said, okay, great. He said, I want to do it so that when we walk through the museum, there's pictures of me and my girlfriend up like an exhibit. I said, sir, I don't know if you know how a museum works. He said, I'll pay you this much money. I said, we'll do it. Guides, games, and gossip. A little bit of detail about the functioning nature of how our business works. We're mostly in New York City, but we've hired our first employees in Washington, D.C. to work at the National Gallery and in San Francisco to work at the D. Young. We are a private business that goes after premium customers. We only sell our tickets online, and we work through the museum's group services office. So similar to how a foreign language tour group would come in at a major museum with their own guide, or a college professor with their students, that's how we come into the space. Now we do about 20 to 35 private tours every single week, and the cost to join one of our tours ranges from $49 to $199 per person. We have 24 employees now. 10 of them are full-time. The rest work for us between 10 and 30 hours a week. In addition to the tours, I'm very thankful that a lot of museums, including a few here in Canada, have been hiring us to do training of their staff, workshops, and helping them with marketing support to reach these new types of audiences. We've also been experimenting with a lot of really cool things, helping museums with their Facebook advertising, which is an amazing way to reach a whole new type of audience. This is our crew that I get to work with every day in New York City. Each one of these people is obsessed with attracting a whole new type of audience to the museum. People like me who thought that maybe museums weren't for them, and now we're trying to show them all that they do have to offer. But why museums? Why am I obsessed with this now? To talk about that, I have to go back to my favorite piece of art in the entire world, those lips that I showed you before. This may look like a new or a modern piece of art to you, but in fact, it's very, very old. It's an Egyptian artifact that's more than 3,000 years old. It's life-size, and it's made out of a material that's called yellow jasper, which is a semi-precious stone, and there's 2 main things to know. Number 1, yellow jasper was very rare. At the time that this was made, yellow jasper was so rare that the next largest piece of yellow jasper in the whole Metropolitan Museum of Art, it's no bigger than your thumbnail. So for this, the whole face would have been yellow jasper, the hands and the feet. Second thing about yellow jasper is that it's incredibly hard to work with. On the hardness scale of 1 to 10, where diamond is a 10, marble's a 3, jasper is like a solid 6 or a 7. It makes marble look like a stick of butter. It's so hard to work with. And the line on the lower lip, I was talking to a curator about this piece. I was like, this is my favorite piece in the world. And he said, yeah, there's a lot of mystery around it. We don't exactly know who it is. He said, we think it could be Nefertiti, could be Queen T, maybe one of 4 people. But beyond that, beyond not knowing who it is, he said, we don't even know how it was made. He said, not only that, but there's no surviving examples of tools which could have even been used to get that polish and the detail on her lips. And a woman was listening to us talk, and she stuck her head in, and she goes, I bet it was the aliens. She did not work at the museum, by the way. This is my favorite piece of art because when I look at it, I feel something. Most Egyptian works, to me, don't mean anything. They're rocky, they're broken, and they're monotone. But I see this, and I see her lips, and I think, if the lips looked like this, could you imagine what the rest of it looked like? She would have been presented to the pharaoh wearing a Nubian wig, maybe a dress made entirely out of feathers. It would take my breath away. I get butterflies when I see this. And I think that's what a good piece of art is. A great piece of art can communicate through time. 3,000 years ago, I couldn't speak the language or read hieroglyphics, but today I can see this and I can feel something. I have a connection to that. The greatest compliment that I ever got was from someone who joined our tours. He said, I never would have done this tour. I never would have come to this museum, and now I've been here for 2 hours. He said, I've seen all of these objects that are 100, 500, that are 1,000 years old. He said, I've seen all of these objects that are 100, that are 500, that are 1,000 years old, that have withstood the test of time. And then I look at my own work, and he said, I wonder if that will stand the test of time. He said, being at this museum has made me want to be a better creator. My name is Nick Gray. The name of my company is Museum Hack, and we think that museums are fucking awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. Certainly, we really appreciate you coming here. It is a tough time slot, but we knew that your passion, the work that you're doing, would keep people here. It's passion. I think our field has latched on to what you guys are doing and wanting you to come to conferences because it's passion that we all have, but you guys are exuding it so well and showing it to the public that we're learning from how you're doing it. But it's just wonderful to have you come here and talk about that passion, why you're doing it, and give us inspiration because, of course, end of the Friday, we want inspiration going back. And, of course, Monday we'll institute all these new plans. So you did tease us with questions. We are running a little short, but do we have a wireless mic back there? I guess we'll have a few quick questions, and I don't know if you're sticking around and get a flight, but we'll do a few questions before we get on a few other announcements. So do we have any questions on the floor?
I really enjoyed your presentation. Thank you. The Met must love you because you bring tons of new and different people into the museum. I would imagine that your first few tours, though, did you have issues with security? And I ask this because I think museums are fucking awesome, and I want my son to think museums are fucking awesome. So we frequently do a museum approach and things like art galleries, but we do it a little differently. It's like the family-friendly version of the Museum Hack Tour. We are not always welcome.
Okay.
How do you get around that?
Great question. How do we work with security? If you have to leave, by the way, thank you so much for coming. I won't take offense at all. I'm staying here all through the night. I don't leave till tomorrow morning, so I'm happy to hang out with you guys, go to the slot machines together. I'm in it to win it. How do we work with security? Short answer is yes. When I first started to do these tours, we had to figure out what those rules were. And I think that the important thing to know is that if I had to ask for permission to do Museum Hack, it never would have happened. And we just started doing it. And being respectful of the art, knowing that we can't touch things, we can't eat or drink in the space, knowing those rules, there's a lot that you can still do to kind of work around that. And what we like to say is, we don't break rules, we break the expectations of what a museum tour can be. That could include sitting down in the galleries. That could include writing a haiku to a Rothko. It can include selfie challenges. It's just like breaking the expectations and like the traditions of what are usual lecture-based experiences. No problem.
Another one? I'm sure everybody's going to grab you at the end of this, but
Cool.
So I forgot to give you, on behalf of the local arrangements committee, there's a little parting gift. And,
Thank you.
And something you might want to drink before you take back over the border.
Awesome.
But anyways, thank you very much.
Thank you so
Great
much.
having you.
Thanks for having me.
I'll make sure it doesn't fall. Okay.